amongst yourselves and realize that what you're doing is the worst thing for Edison, and you're going to cost us a lot of money for no reason. And in today's Sentinel, Choi critiques aspects of Corzine's budget. According to the mayor, Edison would lose nearly $1 million in municipal aid, which he said would lead to higher property taxes as the government tries to make up the shortfall. This will, and I quote, "This will inevitably lead to higher property taxes, and we already have property taxes that are unbearable," said Choi. If this is the way he believes, and this is what he's saying, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. And you're falling for it. And I think that the people who are aligned with him, whether you're doing it consciously, unconsciously, or whatever have you, and I really mean no disrespect, rethink your positions and think about Edison first. Thank you.
First time speakers, Ms. Nemitz. Ester Nemitz.
Ester Nemitz, 162B Fay Street. I want to start by pointing out that I think that there's a teeny error in the way this section of the ordinance, proposed ordinance, was put together. Section 35.3, number C, they ran together the part about misconduct in office, and all of a sudden, when you get down to the end of that sentence, it says the executive director of the agency should have a degree. Never said how this person would come to be. It's just all sort of run together. That part about the executive director is in a separate section of the statute, section 40A:12A-12. And I think that those should be separated because they're not the same topic. Now, the point is, when you go to the redevelopment statute, it says, these are some of the functions that can happen here. Employ or retain consulting and other attorneys, planners, engineers, architects, managers, and financial experts, and other employees and agents of a permanent or temporary nature as may be necessary, determine their qualifications, duties, and compensations, and delegate to one or more of its agents or employees such powers and duties as it deems proper. For such legal services as may be required, a redevelopment agency, etc., may be required. A redevelopment agency or housing authority may call upon chief law officers of the municipality or county, as the case may be, or may employ legal counsel and legal staff. It goes on and on. Now that's just people to employ to get the job done. When you look at something like Devco in New Brunswick, they've got a staff. And the result of their having a staff is that they have grown over decades to become a very large agency. Now, they don't just behave, without some income. So they have to have a budget, all right? And one of the things that has to happen is that there's an annual budget submitted to the municipality with an estimate of income and expenses for each redevelopment project, which shall include all its indebtedness, including payments necessary to make interest and principal payments on bonds issued pursuant to this act, etc. It takes a lot of money to run one of these things. When I first heard this discussed at the end of last year, one of the things that I said to the council then, which was a little different composition than the council now, was that they should really look at what it takes to implement something like this. It is not easily done, and if we take a look at what has been happening in Sayreville, and I'd like to read a little from this article, National Lead is to receive $82.75 million for its heavily contaminated 480-acre property. The Middlesex County freeholders have a vested financial interest in the project because they lent approximately $42 million of taxpayer money to Sarah to help facilitate the initial condemnation of the National Lead property. The county anticipated a first installment repayment of $7.2 million for its 2008 operating budget. The budget has still not been adopted since the State Local Finance Board determined assurances that the repayment would eventually be made. We know that the county had to sweat out getting this money back from Sierra. And even after that 7.2 has been repaid, should it occur, the county would receive a total of $32 million from Sierra. This is if they manage to settle with the new person who's supposed to be, the new entity that's supposed to be handling development there. Why did they get in trouble? The first person or entity that they picked to do their redevelopment fell through, didn't work out. So there they were, stuck with the loan that they had gotten from the county. Now they had to figure out how to handle that, go out to bid again, get a whole new raft of people to come in and make proposals, and come up with a plan. All right, now that's just Sayreville. Here in Edison, we're discussing Revlon at the planning board. What does Revlon say? The owner is willing to work with the town. However, Mr. Bonacore, who's their attorney, said the owner does not want the area to be treated as a redevelopment area. He's not interested. Why? Because he said it involves loss of control. All right? Not everybody wants to be redeveloped. Frankly, if you take a look at the list of things for which a redevelopment agency is responsible, and it is a very long list. It includes dedicate, sell, convey, or lease any of its properties, and they can own properties, cause parks, playgrounds, recreational, community, educational, water, sewer, and drainage facilities and other works which it is otherwise empowered to undertake to be furnished adjacent to or in connection with redevelopment projects. Furnish, dedicate, close, pave, install, grade, pave, or replant streets, roads, roadways, alleys, etc. This is just at the front of the list. Plan or rezone, enter into an agreement, do any and all things necessary or convenient to aid and cooperate in the planning, undertaking, construction, or operation of redevelopment projects. That could be God knows what. Cause services to be furnished and enter into an agreement. It goes on. It's a long list. Most of these things in this list are things that developers normally undertake because that's what they're in the business to do. If we're going to have to finance this, we're going to end up like New Brunswick, where the developers pay to have this done. When developers pay to have these things done, they expect something in return. What do they have in New Brunswick? Big buildings. I don't know that that's what we want in Edison. I just really want you to think about what goes on with redevelopment, because it's not a simple process. And frankly, I would just assume for those few parcels that we have left here in Edison, they're not all of them huge. Each one of them is its own individual entity. If we're 98% developed, we don't have a huge problem of blight and all kinds of things falling down around us. There are, I'm sure, with the person that we have now selected to do our economic development, that we should be able to go out and find people to come in and do this without having to get into all of this redevelopment business. It's extensive, and I really think it's burdensome. I really wish you would think about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Nemitz. Ms. Walke?